Hello YouTube! Got a toy today that I've been anticipating for quite a while, ever since I first saw the photographs of it actually on Cybertron.com. And here it is. This is Transformers animated Waspinator. Now, Waspinator, as I'm sure most of you will know, originally appeared in the Beast Wars cartoon, where he was one of the renegade Predacons who helped Megatron steal the Golden Disc. He didn't have a great deal of characterization, really. He was just the comic relief. He was a bit nuts. He had a very, very strange way of speaking. 90% of the time he turned up, he got blown to pieces, had a funny line or two, got repaired, and that was it. Very, very little in the way of character development. Even so, he's one that's sort of made a mark. People really recognise Waspinator and quite like him. He was sort of the underdog of the Beast Wars Predacons. He wasn't terribly powerful, smart, fast, or anything to that effect. He was just cannon fodder. He was a distraction, nothing else. Now, in animated, the character is very, very different. Like all of the animated characters, it's a sort of parody or pastiche on how the character is represented in its original incarnation. But because Waspinator was a comic character to begin with, rather than becoming funnier, he's actually become a lot edgier and a little distressing. He was originally an Autobot by the name of Wasp, who, along with the animated Bumblebee, was set to enter the Cybertronian Guard or something to that effect. But whilst they were training together, there were rumours of a plan to Decepticon spy amongst the new recruits. And of course, by this point, we as the viewers know that that was Long Arm Prime, who is actually Shockwave. However, Bumblebee happens along the mistaken notion that it's Wasp. And thanks to Long Arm Prime's efforts, he is eventually incriminated and put away and goes insane. Now, we haven't actually seen this incarnation of Waspinator yet. I imagine that he'll be turning up in Season 3 and doing a bit of damage, hopefully. But getting onto the toy itself, it's really quite impressive. I'm rather liking some of the newer deluxe animated toys that are coming out. They seem to be ditching the extravagant gimmicks just in favour of creating really well-constructed toys, and this is definitely one of them. It's much more angular and spiky than all of the incarnations of Waspinator that's gone before. It looks a bit harsher and a bit more menacing, which is nice. I certainly hope that's going to carry through into how the character's represented in the cartoon show. He's got a very, very, very nice face sculpt indeed. Most of the colours are this very, very dark green offset by a much more toxic, luminescent green here, and black of course. And he's a very, very well rendered toy indeed. He's completely articulated. All of his limbs will move individually and they'll move pretty much wherever you want. The head moves up and down but will not move anywhere else. And the abdomen will also move up and down, so you can bring it forward for like a stinging motion. He does have a gimmick in this mode, but it's just a minor one, and it's quite effective really. It's not something that overshadows the toy or anything to that effect. If you pull this little switch on his back, his wings will go, which is rather cool. I mean, it's appropriate to the toy. It's not very extravagant, but it works. And it's kind of effective and fun to play with. Yeah, in this mode I really, really like. He also has lots of these translucent purple parts, and they function as light piping. If you hold a light behind him, then all of them light up. And his eyes are made of the same material. Huge, huge insect eyes. And he's actually, considering how the character was portrayed in Beast Wars, which was just, you know, he's cute. He was a cute character. He was a bit of comic relief. This one looks menacing. And I am really looking forward to seeing how he's going to play out in the animated cartoon. Right then, onto the transformation. And there we have Transformers animated Waspinator in his robot mode. Now, I imagine one of the complaints that some Transformers fans are going to have about this toy is how simplistic the transformation is, and it is. It's one of the simplest transformations I've ever seen in a Transformer, actually. But, very cleverly, that does not detract from the appeal of it. Sometimes it does. I mean, if you look at the Generation 1 Micromasters, where it's just basically flip up arms, flip down legs, and it's done. With this one, it's not. It's just very clever. It's very efficient, rather than being overly simplistic. The model almost seems to morph into its robot mode. And it's very satisfying. For a simple transformation, it is incredibly satisfying, and the result is stunning. It's an incredible representation of Waspinator. It carries over a great many design features from how he was originally portrayed in Beast Wars. It's got the distinctive sloping jaw with the big jutting chin, the big abdomen hanging off the back and the wings on his back, and also the head for the chest. In fact, it looks so much like Beast Wars Waspinator, you'd be forgiven for thinking that this is a Beast Wars toy. The only difference is that, like most of the animated characters, certain features have been emphasised and exaggerated so it looks like a caricature of Waspinator. And it's very, very effective. He's much more, like the Wasp mode, much more angular and spiky than Beast Wars Waspinator. And much more threatening. He looks like he's going to be quite, not powerful as such. I imagine he's still going to be quite fragile, but I certainly hope that he's going to be a bit more of a danger, of a threat to the Autobots, particularly to Bumblebee. I'm quite interested to see how the dynamic between those two pans out, because he's not Waspinator just like in Beast Wars. Really, he's not a bad guy. He's just had a bit of a raw deal. One of the features I really like in this mode is that these tiny little arms he's got coming out of his chest, and they're completely articulated. They'll move in any way you want, and it's just kind of cool. It makes him look like very much like Black Arachnia, a mutant Decepticon, which is what he's supposed to be. Lovely, lovely light piping in this mode. The eyes are wonderful on his robot mode head, and if you get a light behind those, they will glow beautifully. I love his antenna as well. Lovely, lovely little antenna. Articulation, he'll move however you want him to. There's no limit on his articulation whatsoever on any of his limbs, or even his head. His head will move however you want. He also retains the flapping wing gimmick, which is very, very nice indeed. He's a class act, this toy, I think. Like a lot of the newer deluxe animated toys, there's nothing overly complicated about him, and there's nothing pretentious or anything like that. This is not a collector's piece like you get in some of the classics line or anything like that. This is a toy. And one thing that I think is really endearing about the animated line is that they, akin to Generation 1, they are made to be played with. And that is something I really, really like. They're not fragile. There's nothing fiddly or difficult or terribly frustrating about most of them. They're very easy toys to handle, and this certainly is. The fact that it's such an endearing and interesting character just makes its appeal all the greater. It is a brilliant toy, and the more I am seeing of these animated toys, the more I am liking them. I got also animated Oil Slick recently, on the strength of his appearance in the Transwarp episode, so I'll be reviewing him soon as well. But there we are. Transformers Animated Waspinator. Highly, highly recommended toy. He is great. And if you like Waspinator, if you're a fan of Waspinator from the Beast Wars, you've got to have this, because I think this is the best representation of Waspinator. I think this is much better than any of his Beast Wars toys, including the Transmetal one. Much as I love it, this is the best one. Go out and get him.